What's up? It's Sean from the Be Minus Show. Thank you very much for tuning into this episode. Um, I am going live on YouTube, and I'm also doing this recording through my MacBook on my MacBook. I knew it did. I didn't know my mobile pre didn't work. So here I am doing a live stream on YouTube, and this is about to be something that if you are a beginning musician or maybe you've been in a band or two, you could probably ignore some of the information, but it's going to be about how to start a band, basically. From all my experience, I've been in a band for about 10, 11 years at this point. I've been doing music basically all my life. I'm 40, 41 right now, and I started really getting into music about 16, making music about 16, 17 years old. Took a few years off in between here and there, but generally speaking, I'm just going to share my experience with you and hope you can maybe learn something. All right, so I wrote a little thing right here, and I'm just going to kind of read it and kind of go into detail off the bullet points. The complete beginner band musician guide in a nutshell, in my experience. The first thing you want to do, there's going to be a lot of steps here, by the way, but I'll try to go into detail, but I may revisit later if I don't have a lot of detail with this. But first thing you want to do is learn your instrument, right? Like decide what instrument you want to play. So I kind of defaulted to bass. My buddies and I in high school get together. We get on a microphone. We start like rapping, right? And one of my buddies was a drummer, and his dad like had this full-on studio at his house, basically padded walls in the garage, and converted to a full studio. And we would basically get somewhat intoxicated. I'm not encouraging this at all. I'm just saying this is what happened. And I would pick up an instrument, the bass, the drums, keyboards, or the microphone. But I kind of started gravitating towards the bass over some time. So my dad bought me a bass when I was 18. I never had any formal lessons, but I decided I wanted to learn some songs. So I started off like some Jimi Hendrix, the national anthem, Star Spangled Banner, just like cool songs too, some Lenny Kravitz, just whatever I was feeling at that point. So my music taste kind of changed throughout the years, but I always use my skill to kind of write songs, right? So even though I'm not classically trained, I did my best to learn my instrument. So it wasn't until I was like 29, 30 that I really started getting serious about learning the bass. And I didn't take lessons still. So albeit we still had YouTube back, 10 years ago, whatever, 11 years ago. But I just took it upon my spills into the next one, start a band, right? So the first bullet point is learn your instrument, know what instrument you want to play. The second bullet point I have here is start a band. So this kind of happened naturally for me, which is really cool. A friend of mine knew that I was playing bass, kind of getting into it, and she suggested that I hit up one of her buddies. So I contacted her buddy. He was interested in starting a band, and he knew some people. So I was like the outlier. He knew everybody else. He knew a drummer, singer, another guitarist, and himself was a guitarist as well. They just needed a bassist, but they never jammed together. It was just like a dream he had. So I was like, all right, let's go with it. So I show up to the house with my dinky, cutting out during practice, which really sucked. But anyways, I just kept trying to play. I didn't know anything though compared to these guys, because these guys were actually like been in bands before. This was my first quote unquote band, albeit I had a rap group and like kind of a production thing going on. But this was my first like live band. So actually playing like rock music. So I was a little intimidated, but I just kept showing up to practice, right? Then they started giving me tips. Hey, why don't you try this? Here's a book, right? Blah, blah, blah. So I'm still learning my instrument. I'm in a new band. I didn't join an established band. But there I am, right? Just playing music. It's kind of more bluesy kind of style, kind of like jazzy bluesy, but it wasn't super technical by any means. So that's basically how I got my start in like a real band, right? So I started getting excited because I started feeling like a rock star, which is cool. I think those feelings should take over, not necessarily for fame, but just feeling like I was just more special. I was kind of pursuing something I wanted to do. So let me go back to the bullet points here though before I talk too much about myself. Start a band. We practice a little bit. Some guys like me just kind of figure it out and wing it. Regardless, learn your instrument, start your band. But a couple bullet points within starting your band is, first of all, you want to get your solid members established. And I've been when I first, I'm still in, it was 6 members, right? We are down to 3 members right now. And we've been 3 members for the past 5-6 years. And that's the way we like it. So anyways, that could be a process. Sometimes maybe you hit it off, you stick with the same band members, whatever. But start your band, right? And if it just comes down to you being in the band and hiring other people to be part of your band or being a guest of your band, just that's it. That's your band. You are your band, right? So you want to get a name. So within this bullet point, start a band. Get a name of your band. So the first name of my band, the band was Monomyth Inception, and I know that's a mouthful. So we changed that after like 4 or 5 years to the Mean Muggers, right? It's a lot more simple. You have the same syllables, MM, Monomyth, Mean Muggers. So we kept the same logo, but regardless, just get a name for your band somehow. Try to get a name out there. Second one, establish your members that I put here. Another one I want to say is think about your biography for each individual member. Kind of start thinking of your story, because that's what you're going to post on your website, which kind of leads me to the next bullet point. Actually, we're not there yet. So think of your biography. Just kind of start thinking of like your story, whether you started playing at 8 years old, getting forced from lessons from your mom, or you picked up an instrument at 18 like me. And then you're going to kind of build your story right there, because I think people really like to know where these musicians come from, right? So just put it out there or start thinking about it. So the third bullet point I have is get a set of around an hour. So I'm obviously bouncing back and forth here, but I'm trying to stay on track. And yeah, so get a set list of about an hour, because this is going to set you up to start booking shows. But before we get to booking shows, I've had a lot of experience playing a lot of gigs. Some of my gigs were 30 minutes, right? You show up, you play for 20, 30 minutes, and you're off. You spend more time setting up your gear sometimes than you actually play. But I've also played 3-hour set lists where bands flaked out and we're like, hey, we have enough material to cover. We could improvise, whatever. But just starting off, I would say at least have about 45, maybe an hour of music to play during your practices. So that means maybe if it's covers, if you have to do covers, do covers. I am very leaned towards writing original music, but I could tell you from my experience, writing original music could cause a lot of friction, a lot of creative collisions. Especially if you have 6 members in the band, like I first started, writing one song turned into this like complex 7-minute orchestral. Everybody gets like a piece of solo, and everybody's just fighting for their little. There's like attention things, there's ego things going on. So sometimes less members is better. Or like I said, if you're the only person in the band, kind of like John Mayer band, Dave Matthews band, you are the member. And not to say to be egocentric or anything like that, but just know yourself. Know if you feel like you need more of that attention to highlight your playing or not. Me as a bassist, it's nice to have a solo every once in a while, but I really like to sit in the pocket. And this goes back to learning my instrument. Sitting back in the pocket and knowing I could execute some like synth sounds. I can hit like basically almost any kind of bass line to whatever song I'm playing. I'm just really confident. And sometimes I'm not, right? Sometimes I'm not. We've had guest musicians that are just way outplaying me. But I'm comfortable with my instrument. I'm comfortable with my stage presence if I know I rehearse the songs and whatnot. So anyways, get a set list of around an hour, right? Whether they're covers, some originals, maybe a mixture. That's probably the happy balance, Maybe do like 6-7 songs that are covers. which that could also be an argument too. That could be like, I want to play Jimi Hendrix cover, and you're like, the other guy's like, I hate Jimi Hendrix. I want to do Blink 182 covers. One guy goes, why don't we do a remake of like Calvin Harris? So like you could be all over the board in regards to covers, but if you're kind of like in the same genre, I think there's a little compromise that happens. Everybody should kind of bring like an idea or two, depending on how many members you have. But if you have like, the average band is like what, 4 members, three to 5 members, something like that. Everybody should be able to like pick a cover song. Everybody should just pick up their pride and just learn the cover song, right? You're really trying to establish at least 45 minutes to an hour of material. That being said, work on your originals. Me as a bassist, it wasn't always easiest to bring songs to the session, right? Usually the guitarist is going to have a song, or the singer, but usually it's the guitarist that is going to want to force or have a stronger opinion of how they want the song to go. But I didn't play by those rules. And I'm with drummers right here. We're pocket players. So I think it's very important to be like, hey, look, if you have a song, bring that song, and then talk about what transitions you want, if you have transitions, or just whatever your structure is. But me as a bassist, I'm also a writer. So I understand the structure of music. I brought my own talents and strengths to the band. So I'd always have my bass structure out, and then I would ask for layering. Hey, maybe this drum should hit a little harder right here. Maybe we should have a little bit more rhythm or layering right here. Just very basic pop structure. I have an understanding of that. So I always kind of push that. And as a result, the songs that my band makes, there's always at least a few songs written by me. And I've also written lyrics as well. But that's a strength I brought. But all in all, that brain, in the beginning, you want to have about 45 minutes to an hour of material. And then I'm going to jump to my next point. Before we start booking shows, I think it's important to, number 4, start a web page, start promoting your band, start spreading word of mouth. Hey, we got a band. We're going to start booking shows. Check us out. That's where the biographies start to come into play. You start to kind of build this market, this audience, and kind of get a little buzz, right? Because I think a lot of times your buddies are going to be excited to see you. I remember my early shows, I was able to get people out easily to my shows. As the years went by, my friends kind of stopped coming out and watching my shows. But that's where like the marketing comes in. You start kind of trying to build a real fan base and whatnot, not just your buddies, not just your girlfriend, wife, whatever. Right. So, but we're starting like from scratch here. I'm just going back to like my experience, what I think could benefit you if you're trying to start a band. So, start a web page, even if it's Facebook, Reverb Nation, which is free also, Instagram, and just start posting. Hey, we got jam session going today. Got this cover down, maybe tag the artist, whatever. Just start promoting, right? And then I think once you have your hour of material, obviously you're going to know your instrument. You're going to learn that as time goes on. Hopefully your band members are solid and you have a set list about 45 minutes to an hour. I think you're ready to book a show at this point. And there's a lot involved with booking shows. Things are different nowadays. As I record this, COVID's going on, so it really sucks. But I'm just pretend COVID is not going on, which I still think you can book shows. I haven't even tried really to book shows. I've been working on my own personal music at this point, but during COVID. But generally, you can email a bunch of places and then find out details. And there's a whole I think I did a whole post on booking shows. Basically, it's pretty involved. So I kind of took the role of like band booker, band manager guy, and there's like a lot of business involved. But a lot of it's emailing, having a good relationship with the venue, making sure your bandmates aren't, how long am I playing? Is there any involved, any incentives? And do we have to load our own gear in, or do we have a backline, which basically means are there other instruments already set up that we just walk on and start playing with, or other amplifiers and whatnot? How much load time do we have there? And in addition to booking shows, so say you book your first show, You don't want to just book your show, show up, and just kill it and leave or whatever. Um, you really want to bring people. It's important. It's a business. You're playing at a business. If the venue has a PA system or not, most venues will have a PA system where you basically cover charges, or maybe it's just for a drone. Notice that newer musicians, when I was playing, in the beginning, people play way too loud. I don't even like my daughters screaming a loud guitar note going through my ear. So I can't imagine like 300,000 guitar notes going through my ear at a very high decibel, just piercing my eardrum. And then you got bass on top of it, drum, cymbals, a musician, or I'm sorry, screaming, whatever. Just really watch your volume, because I found out the less is better. And if you have the guy who's mixing, usually, so like if you're in a venue where there's a guy mixing your material, he will ask you to turn up, and that's almost a compliment. Like, you're respecting him. So don't try to play so loud. You don't need 3,000 watts, right? You don't need 3,000 watts if you're playing an amphitheater. You have the PA system for that. So, the big old like systems are just more for you to hear yourself on stage. The big old amplifiers and cabinets and all that, there so you could hear yourself on stage. So if you're playing a huge stadium, Circle Stadium, Freddie Mercury style, you're probably going to need 2 810 stacks and 2 300-watt heads for at least for a bass, Ampeg, whatever. And then you could hear yourself through all that crowd noise. But if you're playing like a venue for 100 people, 200, 300 people, you could have all that stuff to look cool. It's going to be a lot of stuff to lug, move around and stuff, but just make sure you can hear yourself on stage and let the PA guy, the mixer guy, take care of it, right? So watch your volume. So once you book your shows, you're polite, you brought people, and you watch your volume. Maybe just book a few more shows and keep promoting. Go back, start learning your instrument more, start solidifying your biographies more, start adding more songs to your catalog or honing in your songs. I've changed my bass lines multiple times for multiple songs, even though I thought I had that bass line perfect. Then I'm like, you know what, dude? This guy added a new sound. I'm going to change the way I play. Just always kind of like reestablishing, rehoning until it's just boom, that's how it is right there. And that just takes practice. Get yourself, a bigger set list. Start promoting again on your webpage. Then book shows. And after you do all that stuff, once you have all that down and you do that for a while and you're very confident in it, start recording. Now, I'm not saying this is a set order how to do things, but this is just my suggestion. And obviously, some of these are interchangeable. But consider recording. Obviously, there's awesome software out there. I use Logic Pro X. I love it. My band members use it too. So I'm very happy that we all use the same software. Otherwise, it gets very complicated. And we've been hearing files through COVID, right? So we're like recording an album through COVID, right? And there's technical things going on there, but we're getting quality stuff that's kind of starting to come out. Instead of me going to someone's house and recording through their system, we're sending files. I'm uploading them, trying to figure out those issues, and then doing my part, basically mixing down whatever I do. So, but figure out a way to record your stuff, whether it's good quality or just decent quality, something that doesn't hurt people's ears, something where you can hear what the lyricist or the vocalist is saying, something where you kind of like, it's not too muddy. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I really suggest that you figure out a way to record your music somehow. And even if it's covers, I don't encourage covers because there's like a whole like fee system involved, royalties. You can't even play certain venues if you have certain covers, because they have to abide by certain laws. They have to pay basically like a $10,000 fee to play certain covers at their venue. So some places don't even encourage, like if you do covers, they're like, no, you can't do it. We're going to get sued, right? There's people watching venues make sure if they screw up and they play certain covers, they're going to get a big fine if they don't pay that $10,000 royalty fee or whatever. So they're like, no covers. Some places are no covers. So just kind of keep that in the back of your head. I don't know too much about covers. We do play some covers where they allow us, but we actually played a venue before where they gave us a list of covers we could not play. And we had a couple covers that we ended up getting rid of on our set list because they did not want that song, those songs. So just something to keep in mind. But you could probably record your covers. Obviously, like some people get famous on YouTube for doing covers and whatnot. But I don't know the legal implications of that because I generally just try not to mess with covers. I just like doing my original music with myself and my band. So anyways, just assuming that you have, say, just a couple original songs that you and your band just worked through on stage. You practiced it over and over. Everybody has their parts down. You recorded it, get it copyrighted, go to copyright.gov. It's not that difficult. It's like 65, 70 bucks. And you can record. Basically, usually what I do is I try to get like, an album's worth of material, 10 to 15 songs. And once those are all kind of dialed in pretty good, I will go to copyright.gov, pay the 65 bucks, 75 bucks, and then get it copyrighted. And yeah, and this band is that name. There were other bands named Monomyth, one in Germany, and I think one in like Texas or something like that, right? So we decided to add Inception at the end to avoid any like legal implications because I think we all kind of came out around the same time, which was weird. But one thing we did to protect our name, the Monomyth Inception, and I'm not proud of this name. That's why we changed our name to the Mean Muggers. But one loophole I found is that if you play out of state under your band name and you have proof of that, you basically establish the band name permanently. So we were worried like, okay, we got Monomyth, right? That was the original band name. Then we said, let's add Inception. We just had to come up with a name because we were playing shows at that point. We found this other Monomyth in Germany and like the other one wherever. Or like we started getting worried, like, dude, are they gonna like come after us or whatever? So let's add the Inception. And then we played out of state. We played in Reno. So we're a California band. So we played around California a lot. And then we decided to play on Reno. And I found out once you establish yourself out of state, that actually gives you a lot more credibility as a band because you are a quote unquote national band at this point. And I don't even know if it gives you more credibility if you play out of the country because we never have. But last I checked is if you play out of state with your band name, it will give your band name national exposure versus just state exposure, if that makes sense. Now that may not stand now because I haven't checked that. I don't worry about that much anymore because there's also like copyrights and publishing, and there's also a lot more online stuff that could kind of establish your presence. But if you have the opportunity to physically play out of state under your band name with your songs and have some kind of documentation of that, like a flyer or something like that, just something to keep in the back of your head. And I'm kind of a risk management guy. Like I said, I was kind of like the band manager / I did a lot of stuff in the band, but promoting, writing, all that stuff, but just something to keep in the back of your head. All right, so let me kind of go back, finish up these points. Obviously, what I said earlier, start a webpage, promote your band. So number 7, I wrote publish your stuff on your page, social media, YouTube. So yeah, start publishing videos, start publishing your music. Once you get it recorded, once you get video of your band playing, get the crowd, like a video of the crowd. And this goes with like playing like softly, right? If you're recording a live video and you just hear just a loud, crackling, piercing sound, that's going to cut through on the recording. It's going to cut through the decibels and the hertz and all that stuff. You just want to have a good, even sound. I mean, my band practice nowadays with 3 members, especially, we learn to play quiet, and I could record. I could pull my phone out. I could pull my phone out right here and put it on the voice memo, set it by my bass amp, and have a good recording of the whole band, right? And it's not perfect, but it sounds good. There's nothing too muddy about it. It's very clear. I could hear the vocals. Well, the vocals are a little muddy, but I could hear the guitar riff. I could hear the drums, and I could hear my bass. And then I could go back and listen to the voice memo and just rehearse on that voice memo. Send that voice memo to my band members. Hey, remember this idea we came up with? And there's kind of like, you get the gist. It's not this mystery, like, wait, we missed it. Oh man, the bass was way too loud, or the guy was hitting the cymbals way too loud. So publish your stuff. Hopefully it's good quality material. And then my 8th point here is get better at all of it. Repeat it again. So let me go back. Learn your instrument. Number 1. Number 2, start a band. If you already have that, make sure you solidify your professional relationship with your band members. If you go a little personal, that's cool too. I used to get drunk with my old drummer all the time. We go out, we live next to each other. We go out drinking all the time, and we actually got a lot better with each other because we just hung out. Make sure your bios are good and all that. Number 3, get your set list of around an hour. So if you're getting better at this, get a 2-hour set list, get an hour and a half, make more originals, get more covers, just add to your portfolio. And then I said point number 4, start a webpage to promote your band. Well, you already got a webpage at this point. So just keep promoting your band. Put posts up, different angles of like your instrument or a riff or something like that. Or, hey, we got this song going on. Can you guess it? Number 5, book shows. Book more shows if you want. You can overbook. You can overbook in your own town, believe it or not. The rule of thumb is like every 3 to 6 months play in your own town. And we pretty much follow that. We might play like 30 minutes up the road and then play like downtown or something like that. Maybe like 4 or 5 times a year. And then if we have to go like 45 to an hour out, we'll do that too. But unless you're touring or something like that, I mean, how often do bands come to town? So don't overbook, right? Maybe when you're first starting out, you could play like once every 2 months for like like 2 or 3 gigs. But then you got to kind of space it out and then start branching out more, or just focusing more on recording. Which brings me back to point 6 that I have: record your originals and covers. Get better at recording, get better at your software, get better at your mixing, mastering, your writing. Keep putting out new songs, or re-record old songs and make them better. Make sure everything's protected, copyrighted, published, all that stuff. And number 7, keep publishing material on your page. Don't give up. Work on your social media, YouTube. Marketing is huge. Word of mouth. Like I said, your friends get tired of your stuff. You're probably going to get tired of hearing your stuff, but you can still always make it better. So number 8, get better at all of it. Repeat again. Stick with it. Like I said, 10 years in this band, 5-6 years as a Monomyth inception, 4 or 5 years, give or take, as a Mean Muggers, still making music. I'm 41 years old. Obviously not famous, but still doing what we love and still making my own music. So good luck to you. I hope you learned something from this kind of long video. 30 minutes, not too long, but I was just kind of trying to cram a lot of information into this live podcast, my first live YouTube I did. So I appreciate you, all my podcast listeners. I'm going to publish this via podcast, B- show, BIMNUSSHOW.com. You can find me on Libsyn, Apple iTunes. You can find B- Show on SoundCloud as well. You can hear my own music, and you can look up